Joshua Atkinson took inner light consciousness 40 years ago in Evansville, Indiana, and heard the call, "Follow me." It was just before the 40 days in the wilderness experience, and Joshua volunteered to stay in Virginia Beach and take care of the fellowship while the rest of us went away on retreat. Joshua has always been willing to serve wherever he's needed. He became an ILC guide and has taught ILC classes around the world. He is a domestic violence counselor. He has studied and taught the Course in Miracles for many years. He and his wife Annalia have come the farthest to this homecoming from Hawaii. Joshua will present to us an exploration and experience of true forgiveness, which I think probably all of us need. I know I do. Let's now greet Joshua Atkinson.
So I guess we don't need to do the choo-choo, Steve.
I was going to say, I'm revved up already. Whoa.
How did you rev all of that up after this long day?
Are we still on the same day?
Man.
Okay. Well, you just saved yourself 5 minutes. Because I had a plan to rev you up, but forget that.
Okay.
I'll tell you a couple things that's interesting about this opportunity for me. One is, in the past couple of months when I felt the call to present this and answered yes when that came, I thought, what in the hell am I going to talk about? Because forgiveness can be explored in many, many, many different ways. It has many, many different meanings, and oftentimes it has kind of a heavy feel to it. Because we're thinking, well, that son of a bitch, and all the rest, and look what I went through, and on and on. But the kind of forgiveness that I'd like for us to explore today, I'm just going to do a talk a little bit on this, and then we're going to go through the experience of it, because that's where the rubber meets the road, right? So imagine, if you will, and I'm going to borrow from my wife a little bit on this, because in the Bible, I'm not a big Bible student, I know a little bit about it, but in the Bible, apparently it says, at one point, a deep sleep fell upon man. And then nowhere else in the Bible does it say we woke up.
That was when God made Eve right in the beginning.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is that maybe our job is pretty simple, and it has to do with just waking up.
Yeah.
And that waking up is what I would like for us to explore today. So if I'm asleep, if I fell asleep, if you all fell asleep, if in our joint consciousness of oneness as God created us, we decided to take a nap. What was that nap about? Well, I'm pretty sure it was what I would like to call an errant thought. And that errant thought was, what would it be like to live separate from God, apart from God's love? Clunk. And lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, we replay that thought. We even invent this thing called time. And there we are, replay, 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 replay. And I suspect that we're all ready to wake up. And I suspect more than that. I suspect that we all already are awake. And when we talk about enlightenment, it's like we're reaching for something. But I suspect that closer to the truth of that is that we are all already awake. It's not that hard to consider. Think about it this way. If I fell asleep, I'm in a bed, and I'm dreaming these dreams, these lifetimes. One lifetime I'm a pirate, and then the next one I'm a priest. And we've agreed, and we've played out these scripts, and we've all written them together. And we support each other in our insanity, because we're jointly insane when it comes to that that idea that there's some reality to these dreams. So if that be the case, then how many years have I spent trying to wake up in the dream, to make myself enlightened? Well, that's just still part of the dream. So maybe the trick is not waking up in the dream, but waking up from the dream. And if I can do that, even for a second, then, wow, then I realize that there is no such thing as evil, because it was just a dream. Therefore, I have nothing to feel guilty about, because it was just a dream. Why else would I need forgiveness unless I felt guilty? So what I'm going to suggest to you is forgiveness is also an illusion. So we're not here to really do anything. We've already done it. We're just waking up to the fact that I am perfect, I am whole, I am loved, and most importantly, I am safe. And now, as you explore those little pieces, those tidbits that I've just put out on the table, then you just got to ask yourself, do I feel safe in every circumstance that I'm in? I know I don't. If a guy comes at me with a balled up fist in my DB classes, sometimes I feel safe, but sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, let's go. Because there's the part of me that's still buying into a belief system that somehow I'm in danger. But I'm not really. Not for a second. This talk, this has already happened. This is going to sound weird, but I am at the fellowship, so it's okay. This talk has already happened. I experienced the completion of this conversation that we're having today prior to ever arriving to Virginia Beach. Everybody's here except Mary Elizabeth. But she was clearly in this conversation that we're now having. So, having said that, what's weird about that is that it kind of takes time out of the picture, and it gets us to where we were yesterday when we started, the 40th Bihah. You remember the 40th Bihah?
It is finished.
It is finished. So what makes that possible? Because we sure seem to be sitting here in separate bodies. We sure seem to be sitting here with our own belief systems. Some of you may be sitting here ready to take a nap. Some of you, who knows? So what could possibly make that true? And what makes it true is there was and is and forever will be a consciousness that visited this planet 2,000 years ago, according to our time, and did it for us. And our job is simply to acknowledge that the presence of the Christ, so well demonstrated by Jesus, is present within us. And that in reality, in fact, we are joined with that. Our minds are joined. There's probably plenty of readings that will support that thought. So if our minds are joined, and if we're awake, then what's left to forgive? The only thing left to forgive, this is our exercise today, is the self-deceptions, the delusions, the mistaken identity that we've all fallen into. So you think you're looking at someone named Joshua, who's got a body and a belly. That used to not be the case, but there it is. But maybe we're just simply looking at a piece of ourselves when we look at each other. Maybe Paul got it right when he said, everywhere we look, it's a mirror. Maybe he got it right when he recognized that, or Casey recognized that mind is the builder, and that's what we do. So let's be maybe more attuned to what it is that we're creating with our thinking. When I look at someone coming at me with a balled up fist, this is, of course, true. Hey, Marcia. Coming with a balled up fist. What is that really saying in truth? It's either one of two things. It's either an expression of love or it's a call for love. So obviously, it's a call for love. So when that guy came and hit me with balled up fist, I looked at him. I said, "That's not you." And he stopped dead in his tracks. He was high on ice. He stopped dead in his tracks. His eyeballs twirled this way and that way. And he said, "That's not." We're going to sit down and fiddled for a little while. Then after he got clean and sober, 3 months later, he came back to me and he said, "Well, thank you for seeing me. Not the drug addict, crazy guy. Thank you for seeing me." And that's forgiveness in action, right? So Paul Solomon had a wonderful exercise. This is not one we're going to do today, but this is one he gave to me. This is what hooked me into fellowship. When I took ILC with Anna, our shooter teacher, in 1977 in Evansville, Indiana, third day of the 10-day workshop, then he looked right at me. I was beaver sitting down in the front row trying to get everything. He looked at me and said, "You don't think you're very lovable, do you?" I mean, I knew he was a psychic, but damn. He nailed that one. And so I'm hooked, because this guy is reading me. He told me something I didn't even fully know. I just knew there was something wrong with me. That's all I knew. So I got hooked real fast. So once I came to the fellowship, I started learning. One of the suggestions he made for an exercise was, he said, and this was back in the Chayla days, right? Although I feel like he said it right to me. He said, "What I want you to do is every morning, first thing, every night, last thing, go into your bathroom and look in the mirror and see what you see and listen to what you tell yourself." So, first 10 days. Didn't have much good to say. Got kind of bored with that after a while. And beat yourself up long enough. What's left to say. So after the umpteenth, "I'm not good enough," or "I should have done this," or "I should have done that," and all the guilt associated with that, all the yucky feelings associated with that, I was, "Shit, man, this ain't working." And I thought, "Oh, let me just switch it a little bit." And so instead of running that list or making up that, "Oh, you're so great," or "You're this," or "You can do that," making up that pretend list too. I thought, why did he tell me to do that? So I became curious. That's all, just curious. I'm a child of God. I'm lovable? Not really. And just began to consider that as a question for a while. And then that took me to a place where at the end of that 30 days of very religiously, I was a monk back then, very religiously doing the exercise, at the end of the 30 days, I looked in the mirror and all of a sudden it was like, no more words. Words were irrelevant at this point. And I looked in the mirror and I thought, my God, I am lovable. I am a child of God. It was a recognition. It wasn't anything more than just a simple recognition. And that's part of the forgiveness process. It's looking past all the things that we make up about ourselves as characters in a story who just simply are asleep. Now, I also made up stories, I shared this with Dale earlier, that I was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ or something like that. So I had to, no, not really. But I had this idea that there was something holy about me. Because I was a member of the Fellowship of the Inner Light. This was a cool group. So I had it down. I got my Jesus smile on. Yeah. And knew how to be peaceful and calm and kind and all that stuff. Until I walked into the dry cleaner over on 17th Street. No, Laskin Road. Laskin Road is the dry cleaner there. But then I walked in, I had a Jesus smile on. And the lady that was working there, she was smacking some gum and taking orders. And she looked at me and she said, What you got that Jesus smile on for? Oh, busted. So those characters that we develop, whether they're or anywhere in between, we've got to realize they're just our characters. That's not who we are. So who the heck are we? And that's what I want us to explore. Who the heck are we? Paul had another exercise, jailer thing. Coming in, he said, okay, there's a box on the floor. I want you to drop your body in there. I want you to drop your emotions in there. I want you to drop your thinking in there. And then tell me what's left. That's a good exercise. So what's left? Awareness. That's all that's left. No need for a body. No need for a belief system. Sir George Trevelyan, remember? You must be willing to jettison your beliefs. So the key there is willingness, right? Rabbi Gelberman, remember? Some of you guys might remember him.
Oh, we are ready.
I am ready. I am ready. I am ready to love. Now, was that pretty good?
Yeah.
To get to a state of readiness to love, what does that require? Presence. Recognition of that, what we have to give, who we are, and living in a very present moment so that we can be there for that one that calls for love, and to share that with them and let that be our gift to the world. I suspect that the fellowship of the inner light, that word inner light, has a lot of meaning for a lot of people in here. We wouldn't be sitting here. We all know what the inner light is. We've all experienced that inner light. There perhaps are times when we get caught up in the day-to-days and the thises and the that's and kind of lose sight of that. Not hard to do. But it's easy enough to choose again and recognize that that inner light is always present, always ready, capable of loving, and in fact is love. So that kind of keeps it simple, doesn't it? That was my goal today, was keep it simple. I'm a simple guy. So how about we go to a place, just for now, I invite you to do this. You can do it with your eyes open or closed. If you do it with your closed and you're tired and you start snoring, just tweak them a little bit next door. It's okay to sleep, but just. So how about we go to a place together, recognizing that there is a part of us that's asleep. I mean, here we are. There's a big part of me that's asleep right now, because I think I've got this body and I'm standing in front of you. But the truth of the matter is, if I can see that I'm dreaming this, if I can see that I'm dreaming this right now, that I am the dreamer, if I identify with that aspect of myself, I've said, this is my God self. I'm still connected to my source. And I'm having this errant thought. It's called the world. And step into that identity of our God self, of who we really are, and look at these characters that we play, at these thoughts of who we are, and let's look at that with a kindness. Let's look at that with true compassion and true love. And not to make it real or make it not real, just simply let it be what it is. And recognize, okay, that's been my expression. That's all. And then from that God self place, in the loving of ourselves, or even whatever we think of ourselves, if we can do that just for a moment, what I'd like to invite you to do is to feel the safety of that. There's an absolute, perfect feeling of safety. It might come as a feeling of peace. It might come as a feeling of glee. It might come as a curiosity at best, and that's fine. Curiosity is a great thing. So I would invite you to do that, and I might say a couple of words during the course of it, and then I'll give you some kind of signal to pay attention to me again. All right, so if you close your eyes, open your eyes, whatever suits you. If you'd like to go to the top of the mountain using the 7 terraces or any other forms that allow you to kind of loosen up your beliefs about what appears to be. Using that inner vision, that Christ vision that accompanies that inner light that we all know so well. Allow that vision to show you how perfectly lovable you are, and have always been. So you're not calling upon your ego's judgments now. You're calling upon the Christ within. Feel that spark of glee or joy or peace or safety. You got it. You experience and can really own that for yourself as an exercise. We're going to do something that Jesus did. When he was hanging up on the cross, he looked out on all the so-called persecutors, and you remember what he said? Forgive them, Father, they don't know what they're doing. So if there's anybody in your experience that you feel like has been persecuted, see if you can tap into that same consciousness, that same ability that says, hey, they don't know what you're doing. And allow that love that you feel for yourself to reach out and into them so that you know they're God's self. You don't need to run the list. One person's good enough. Just take another few seconds, another half a minute or so. Come back, bring your attention back, open your eyes when you're ready. Okay, now, honestly, is anybody confused? Okay, good. That's great. I'm happy about that. So I'm going to finish because I am mindful of the time here. In preparing for this, this has been wonderful. Thank you very much for joining me in this little adventure that we just had. But in prepping for this thing, I was very tempted to write a script out and to have like bullet points and we could look at the different kinds of forgiveness and what it is. We could make this an all-day thing. I thought, I got 45 minutes. And then I got a real clear inward message. I talk to Jesus all the time, and he talks to me too. Got a real clear message. Don't worry about it. I got you. We're connected. Just show up. Open your mouth. So that's a bit of a gamble. But I felt pretty safe in doing it because what I was hearing had the ring of truth to it. There's plenty of snake oil being sold. And what I would like to end with is how I started at the fellowship. And that is, when I came, I heard all kinds of descriptions of metaphysical analysis and means to enlightenment and methods of meditation and so on and so forth. All the different astrologies and tarots and this and that. And I was curious, partook of a lot of that. But I had this question deep down. I said, well, how do I know that any of this stuff's true? I'm not buying here. And the answer that came to me, a lady named Linda Gibson, who used to run the video and press operation for the fellowship many years ago, she said to me, she said, Joshua, how do you know a bell is a bell? I said, well, you ring it. She said, okay, there you go. If the ring of truth is there, at this moment, for anything that comes at us, well, there it is. The truth is true. Words kind of get in the way sometimes. That's all. And when it comes at us, what I've discovered is when it comes at us and it sounds like a bunch of racket, it just doesn't make any sense, well, there's one other place I can go. What is the intention with the person presenting me, and what's in it for me? So if you try to save me, if you're going to try to save me, well, I will accept that. But I might not buy it. Because I don't want to pay for it. That's how we deal with other people's bullshit when they start projecting their beliefs onto us. So I hope that whatever I said today had a ring of truth in it for you. I certainly wasn't trying to convert you to A Course in Miracles or anything like that, though I know a lot of you guys are familiar with that particular thing. Should I finish with a Mary story? What do you think? Or we get it ready? We done?
You got another story.
One more story? One more quick story. I like stories. And this, I apologize to Dale again because I shared this with Dale earlier, but it's one of my favorites. Mary was our
It's
daughter.
okay, Dale's asleep.
Oh, is he asleep? So here's the story, and it'll be brief, and then we'll stop. Supper and all that stuff's on the table. So here we go. Our daughter Mary, and Lena's daughter Mary, dear heart, dear soul. We had her for 23 years. She passed 8 years ago. And when she first arrived, she came with all kinds of diagnoses that were not necessarily saying she'd have a very long life. She had heart problems and this and that and the other, right? So we took her to Paul Solomon for to have her christened. And when we took her to Paul Solomon in his office up in the Shenandoah Valley, he held her for a little while, and he held her just so lovingly and so beautifully and so gently. It's like he was with her. We were bystanders. And that was fine, because I loved seeing that, right? And after a short period of time, he looked up at us and he just simply said, got a great teacher here. And little did I know that she came to teach me about death. I just would have never, I couldn't put it in that context, it just wasn't there. So when she did pass, at age 23, we had a number of experiences around all of that. It drew my wife and I very close together as one of us was bawling and all apart, the other one hold them up, and we took turns, doing that. And this beautiful soul came to me. I'm sitting 2 or 3 months after the passing. I'd already quit my job because I was a counselor and I wasn't worth a crap counseling because it was all lost in my world of grief, believing that she was gone, right? Because physically she wasn't here. So that's what we do. That's normal. So there I'm sitting in the easy chair on my laptop, and I hear this voice. And the voice says, "Hi, Dad." And I'm like, shit. Ignored it. "Hi, Dad." Brought it up a notch. Okay, got my attention. "Mary?" I'm all in my head here. We're not out in the out loud kind. And yeah, "Hi, Dad. Just wanted to check in, let you know see how you're doing, let you know I love you." That's simple. That's sweet, right? Well, that's terrific, but man, I'm losing it. I'm going around bend. I'm making this one up really, really good. But the sweetness there caught my attention. That ring of the bell caught my attention. I thought, well, maybe. So I'm thinking, okay, cool. I love you too, Mary, but I need proof. So she said, "Okay, look under the coffee table." You've heard this story so many times.
I love it.
Look under the coffee table. And I'm laying back in my easy chair. I get up out of my easy chair, look under the coffee table. And she says, "Look under the coffee table." A little oomph in her get up and go there. So I said, okay, all right. And I'm thinking here, I just cleaned all those magazines out. There's 3 magazines under there. Took all the newspapers in the trash. It's all clean, nothing. Picked up 3 magazines. Out from one of them fell a letter from Mary. Landed right on the floor. In her basically 2nd grade kind of handwriting, kind of 1st grade maybe, I don't know, but sweet, whatever it was. And there it was. It was sealed. So I thought, oh my gosh. I'm glad I got it. So I sat down with the letter and I'm going, and I open it up and it says, "Dear Backstreet Boys, I love you so much. You are so cute." And it just kind of goes boom, boom, boom down the line, and her little one-liners. And at the end of this, she always signed "Love, Mary A." So I thought, oh my God, my heart's really just starting to explode, and I'm starting to think, and I feel like I communicate again with her, and I'm like, oh God, Mary, I wish that you had lived. I wish that you had a husband. I wish that you had. And she said, "Stop. Dad, giving and receiving love is the same thing." And that's pure out of the Course in Miracles. Giving and receiving love is the same thing. Love is love. Which end we partake of it from doesn't matter. But love is love. And I thought, oh, wow. I guess that's true then, huh? And then she said one more thing, and that was the end of the conversation there. She said, "Dad, it's all about love." And when she said all, that encompassed illusions, realities, the whole ball of wax. So that's the end of the story. That's really what we're about. That's why the fellowship exists. That's why the reading says people will be amazed when they come and see how they love one another. because that's what we're here for. That's all I got.